I'd like to introduce Dr. W. Warner Burke. Dr. Burke is the Edward Lee Thorndike Professor of Psychology and Education at Teachers College, Columbia University. He is also the Associate Editor for the Journal of Applied Behavioral Sciences. Dr. Burke has written more than 100 articles on the topic of organizational psychology and leadership development. Professionally, Dr. Burke has consulted with top organizations in a variety of industries, including education, government, and industry. Tonight, he is going to talk about the theory of learning agility, including the skills and motivational factors needed to drive change. Please help me welcome Dr. Warner Burke.
Thank you very much. I watch television. It's an old technology that you're probably not familiar with. It came before social media, but in any case, I watch it. And there's a commercial currently going by AT&T that really struck me because it shows a military vet playing golf, but he has no legs. He has artificial legs. He's playing with Jordan Spieth, a pro, and so it shows it. The commercial is short. It shows him lining up for the ball and swinging and hitting a beautiful drive. Now, I play golf. Let's be clear, I'm not a golfer. I just play golf. You understand that difference, do you know? But to watch him hit that ball with artificial legs and what that took for him to be able to do that was remarkable, just remarkable, because he had to use skills he had never used before and had to learn that and fail most of the time, interestingly. But he learned, and to be able to hit the ball like he did was just wonderful. Now, I don't know how long it took him to do that. My guess is it was not overnight, that's for sure. But anyway, look for that. Well, you don't watch TV, though. I forgot about that. You're doing streaming or something like that. I can't keep up. So in any case, that's one of the examples about learning agility that I'll get into. The one that I want to tell you a little bit more about just happened last week. At the college, we have a program for senior fellows from the United States Army War College. The fellow comes and spends a year with me taking auditing courses, but also sits in on my research group and so forth. The current one is Monica Washington. She's a colonel who has been in the Army for quite a long time, and she is in my Learning Agility work group. And then she got her next assignment just last week. And her next assignment is South Korea. And she's taking over as a brigade commander, which means about 4,000 people. However, this particular brigade is responsible for running the kind of military community in that part of South Korea. So she has a combination of military people and South Koreans and civilians. Can you imagine the complexity of all that in terms of running that kind of organization? So I was asking her about it, and she says, well, think about it in terms of I'm probably going to be like a mayor of a small city. She has new skills to learn, but it will require very different skills than she has used before. And so she spent a whole year learning about learning. To be agile as a learner, it has two components to it. You have to have a certain set of skills, and you have to be motivated. So if you enter a new situation and you don't know what to do, what do you do then? And the point is you try out things. So one's willingness to take risk in attempting to deal with new situations when not knowing exactly what to do is what the motivation part is all about. And so coupled with risk-taking, it's seeking feedback about how you're doing regardless of how threatening the action might be to one's self-esteem. So you run the risk of being embarrassed. Story of my life, actually. Relevant terms for what learning agility means. There's two major components of learning agility, flexibility, being adaptable, not rigid when trying to do something for the first time, and getting feedback as soon as possible. By the way, the biggest problem with learning agility that people don't do is ask for feedback. You know what I mean by that? Because you run the risk of the person telling you. So people just don't do it. But to learn is extremely important. So flexibility and speed. So trying out things quickly, and if they fail, not going into a funk, but moving on and trying something right away that's different. So speed and getting up to speed as fast as possible is a major component of learning agility. What is the problem that we face as human beings? It's being defensive when we don't make it in terms of what we're trying to do, being defensive about that. So that's a problem that we have to fight all the time to be agile in learning and so forth. So in summary, for right now, learning agility is a combination of motivation and skill. So the motivation is being willing to face new and perhaps ambiguous kinds of situations by taking actions that help one to stay engaged. Staying engaged is really very important in terms of the learning process. So the skill to discern quickly the consequences of these actions, determine what to do next in order to continue the process of learning. It's early days for learning agility. We're barely underway with trying to really understand what it is, but it's a hot topic, as Jason and I have discussed already today. And therefore, we need to quickly get on board about it. So that's what the research is really all about. This is a model that we follow, which means that there's individual differences with respect to people in learning. And so we have to take individual differences into account. But the more goal-oriented you are, the greater the likelihood you're going to be better at agile learning than otherwise might be the case. And you have to be open to new experiences and learn from those. So the measure that is in progress is a behavioral measure, not a thinking or cognitive one. That's too hard. In order for me to get into your head, that will take several years. And some of you have heads, I don't know that I really want, never mind. But so the parsimonious way is to measure behavior. Here's some sample items. Ask my peers to provide me with feedback on my performance. In other words, to what extent do you do that is the question. Update my knowledge and expertise through formal training and education. You keep up, you read for God's sake, and so forth. I'm preaching to the choir about that, I realize that. Take on new roles and assignments that are challenging. Discuss my mistakes with others. Do you do that? Well, you got to trust the person, don't you? That's a problem. Anyway, work with colleagues from different backgrounds or job functions to share perspectives. Do you work with people that are not like you? That will be helpful. Experiment with unproven ideas by testing them out, trying out things, getting data about whether it worked or not, like an experiment. And critically evaluate work-related events with others in order to understand what happened. That's called after-action review. That's what the Army calls it. And that's reflecting. And then there's flexibility, find common things among opposing points of view, and get up to speed quickly, and so forth. So the reliability of this instrument is in place. It's reliable. It means that if you take it at time 1 and you take it at time 2, the scores will be consistent. We don't know what to do about defensiveness. And that works against you. The validity part, that's what we're doing the research on now. And we're making progress on that. And I keep telling my students, validity is the fun part. Reliability was hard work, took 5 years, by the way, to get it to be reliable. But now we're doing the validity. Does it measure what it says it measures? And that's the fun part. You're just going to have to take my damn word for it, really.